Okay. Hi. Maybe I'm doing it. Okay. LOL, that's Mike. Let's see. We're telling your followers. Hi, Jack Curry. Hi, V Pink. Hi, Diverge MC. Whistle Tips. LOL. Candace. Beneka. Giovanna. Dope. Just letting the groove come in. Letting the vibe find us. Hi, Ropal, LOL. Hi, Lepumba Negra. Imatishek, Chen the Bugler, LOL. Okay, hi, from Canada. In Canada, that's how they spell my name. Calais Cortez. Okay, cool. Hi, you guys. Hi, you guys. Hi, you guys. Hi, you guys. Okay, y'all. 4 p.m. We're punctual over here. Oh, God. It's like not the most flattering. Well, this is written backwards so that it reads forwards for Instagram viewers. I have better handwriting, than this. Okay. All right, Michelle Saahene, if you're watching, my guest for today, I'm going to start now. And hi, Emma and Glennis, who are helping this all happen. Okay, stop. All right, cool. With my hair, stop. Okay, hi. Let me just see if that's better. Okay, hi. Generator, this is Generator Live, and I'm going to tell you a little about it. Right now, I have this mic because we're also doing a podcast soon. So this is going to be, that will be an edited version of this, and it will have really good sound. I mean, look. Okay, so Generator was founded to gather and talk about politics and government without feeling stupid. Through our live event series and online movement, we dumb down and humanize policy. Our goal is to define # minimal civic engagement and embody it, inviting normal, average Americans to do the same. We are a movement of a few components. Online, we try to make it easy for people to use Instagram to talk about policy and politicians that are important to them. In real life, we have a talk series, which is what this is the online version of, and voter empowerment dance parties called Jenny Socials, where we dance for 10 to 15 minutes and then interrupt quick with upcoming voter information, election information, and then get back to dancing and repeat. So scheduled in March 2020 was right when freaking COVID hit. Horny for the Polls was a mashup tour. My stand-up tour that added a voter empowerment dance party in every city I was serving comedy to with Generator. So it was like, we had like 3 legs of the tour, and we got through one leg before quarantine time. We went to DC, Durham, North Carolina, and Atlanta. Oh, so fun. Okay, so although the tour had to be canceled, Generator's thirstiness could not. We're hyping Americans online to vote in November and showing them what the bare minimum looks like to make sure, what it looks like to do the bare minimum to make sure you can fucking vote in November. So our movement was hit by COVID in a particular way, and we are noticing that we have resources to pivot. Black and brown communities are being hit by COVID disproportionately worse than white communities. From the perspective of white women, my co-founder Glennis and I have been talking about this, and we're seeing blatantly racist things happen, particularly in our city, New York City, and we want to talk about the reality of this and what we can do to spend our privilege. So today I am talking to my friend and activist, Michelle Saahene. Michelle is the co-founder of Privilege to Progress, a national movement to desegregate the public conversation about race. Privilege to Progress calls on all Americans to join on the path to anti-racism by learning, speaking up in their everyday lives, and amplifying the voices of people of color on social media. Okay, so I'm gonna intro Michelle. You know what, actually, Michelle, let me just talk about you and how we met first before I intro you. Be right there. Okay, so last summer I was on tour in Texas. It was Dallas, I think. And like a couple people, 3 people on my crew drove a crazy like 15-hour drive with the merch in the truck and stayed overnight, and it was crazy. So I was like, I'm getting you some massages. So I call this massage place in Dallas, and I just am clicking with this person who works there. And, I don't know what it is, like a New York thing or a New York Jew thing or whatever. Just we start talking about race and what's going on, the vibe there. And I'm like, not a lot of Jews. Ooh, you know what I mean? And it's Michelle. I'm talking to Michelle. And she's like, well, as a Black woman, I'm having quite a particular experience. I come from Philly. I grew up, or she came from Philly before this and moved to Dallas for her love. She tells me the story that I'll have her tell you, and of how she came to co-found Privilege to Progress. And it's amazing. And it's so organic. It's like gross to say like authentic, organic, but it just is. It's so just this natural thing to this national movement that Privilege to Progress is leading, moving, amplifying. And she's just an amazing person and like cool woman that I just want to be friends with. And yet she brings this heavy, cool, like heavy, real, our national history, what it takes to move the movement forward. And yet she's like my chill friend. She's very cool, and I'm really excited that that we get the chance to talk to her today. So I'm gonna add her now. So give it up for co-founder of From Privilege to Progress, Michelle Saahene. Waiting for more Priv to Prog. Oh, fuck. I didn't tag my thing. Okay. Michelle, hi.
Hi. What a beautiful intro. Thank you.
Yeah, as I was like just thinking about it today and talking to Glennis about, how we met, and it's just so cool. I feel so lucky that we met.
Thank you. Me too. I was like, I couldn't believe that I was talking to you, because just to let you know, I've been using the word Bayenya for like since since episode 1, and I'm like, what? So I'm like, this is insane.
That is so funny. I was like, yes, Michelle, I'm in town. But it was just so chill, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like instantly chill. And I do want to like let folks know once I got a hit on Andrea and how you like helped my friend like find her voice. Her. So we will get to it. Yeah. But Michelle, so just starting off, before we get into anything, how are you doing? Are you back home? And how are you?
Yeah, I'm actually in Philly at Melissa's house. So she's in California with her kids, because her kids go to college up there. So I'm just like chilling in this house in Center City, Philly by myself.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow, by yourself.
Great.
Good. Excellent.
How are you?
And I'm good. I'm in Brooklyn with my dude right here. And I'm fine and good. Finding meaning within this context, and that's what it is. My one of my oldest friends was one of my best friends, Annie, was telling me like when she was a kid, she asked her mom, like, how do I know I exist? Like this, like, these like 4-year-old like questions, whatever. And her mom she said, how do I know I'm not just Polly Pocket? She said to her mom. And her mom was like, even if something to the effect of like, even if you were Polly Pocket, making meaning within, she said this to a 4-year-old, however Annie could figure it out. Making meaning within the context of your life is how you know you exist. Yeah. That's what I'm feeling like right now, because everything was so big and outward, and now it's like just right here, and I'm just, I think that's where I'm at. Yeah.
Just the other day, I was just sitting in a field, letting the sun just like soak into my skin with my siblings. And I was looking around and I was noticing these like little flowers. And I said, I don't think I've looked at these flowers since I was a kid. Like
Yeah.
notice the little teeny purple flowers that I used to love when I was a child.
Wow.
You know, just little
In
like
in
little,
Pennsylvania?
yeah.
Cool.
You know, like
That's
it just,
awesome that you're by your siblings too. Like
oh
with
yeah,
them. That's so particularly meaningful. Like that noticing and
yes.
with them. That's
And
so
I
cool.
said, I was like, guys, the flowers in the grass. And they were like, yeah, it's kind of crazy. And like just the air felt cleaner and we were just hanging out and it was sunny. And I'm reading more. I'm not watching as much TV as I thought I would be, you know, listening to more music and just getting back to what is good for my core, for my soul, and what I just enjoy on an everyday basis.
Yeah,
Besides
totally. It's
people.
yeah, yeah. I know it's we'll talk about how things are, how racism is playing out in this context, but there are these beautiful human things about this moment too. It's so wild. Like it remains insane. It wow. Yeah. Wild. Oh, I'm
Every
so
day.
glad you saw your siblings. I miss my brother so much. Are your
I,
parents around?
they are.
Oh,
So seeing them
great.
all the time. And my little brother's a nurse actually. So I didn't get to see him for like a month. He purposefully was
Mm.
like, I'm not coming over, I'm not seeing you until he got tested and got the negative result. Then he could finally come and see him.
Cool.
But
So he's
he's
been
a
good.
nurse. Yeah,
He's
my mother's
healthy.
a nurse. Yep. And
And she's healthy too?
yeah. But they work in
God
nursing homes.
bless.
They work in nursing homes. So
I mean, it's still high risk. That's where,
it's
like,
still high
sometimes
risk.
a hot spot in states.
It is. And you would be surprised at people that try to come into nursing homes and visit after like just getting off cruise ships or just after just being it's so
No,
they have to
bro.
lock it down. And what's really sad is that because someone actually did that where my brother and my brother and mom worked together, they no longer allow visitors.
Awesome.
So unfortunately, what's terrible is that there are old people dying by themselves without their loved ones near
Yeah.
them because
So sad.
yeah, no one can visit them.
Damn.
Yeah. Heavy.
Just sad.
Heavy.
Yeah, super heavy. It's so I'm like becoming a church lady on the street. Like everyone I
Yeah.
pass, I'm like, God bless you. May God bless you. May you be well. You know what I mean? But God
Yes.
bless your mother and brother. God bless
Yeah.
them. Whew.
Thanks. They're my favorite people. Yeah.
Yeah, they must be cool because you are. And they made you.
Thanks.
Helped make you. Okay, last light, I mean, not that last thing before we get into it. Are you binge watching anything? Or if that's not applicable, were you binge reading?
Oh my gosh, I'm binge reading so much. I've just been buying more books actually by African authors, like specifically, just to know about the continent. But I'm not really binge watching anything except I make it a point to watch Crank Acres on Wednesday nights. It is one of the
Oh, that's
funniest
awesome.
shows I've ever seen in my entire life. Grown
Oh my
adult
God, that's
pranking
yeah.
people. Like it's like I used to prank people in high school, so it's like especially funny to me. So I'm
And they're
watching it.
new, right? Like
Yeah,
they're calling, yeah, that is so funny. God bless crank kickers, to be honest.
you can't not laugh.
Yeah,
It is
so
impossible.
funny. That is
That's the only show
that
I'm
makes
watching.
me proud on behalf of Comedy Central. That's just some straight like half hour laughs. Yes.
So in
Comedy is
that entire,
medicine.
I find myself at 3 o'clock in the morning, just laughing hysterically by myself, listening
That's
to like
awesome.
Abby's on there, Abby, Sarah
I know,
Silverman,
Abby did one,
Tracy.
yeah.
Yes, they're just like a highlight of my day.
That's awesome. That's reminding me to check it out. I was excited. I saw the Subway posters and I knew Abby was on it, but I haven't watched it yet. That sounds good. I'm
It's
gonna check
insane.
that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Okay, Michelle, why don't you tell us how Privilege to Progress? I'm sorry, I keep saying From Privilege to Progress,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
correct.
okay. So tell us how From Privilege to Progress came to be, the story of it.
So, where do I even start? Because I remember that day from even before Starbucks happened. Because you think about your entire day, and
You
so
can tell the details. I mean, it's delicious. I mean,
I
anything,
am.
you know what I mean? Because it ends up contextualizing. Anyway.
It does. So I am going to tell the details because if
Cool.
you, all my friends that know me believe that I went there that day and it was fate, because I went to Starbucks all the time in Philly. But I would purposely walk past that specific Starbucks to go to one that was deeper in the city that was more diverse, because I felt like that one that was in the center of Rittenhouse, to me, there were just never enough like Black and brown people in that location. So I've been in Philly for maybe almost 6 years, and I've only been to that Starbucks one time.
Wow.
One time. And for some reason this day, I was like, you know what? I'm feeling different today. Why don't I just go pop in there again? I don't know why in 5 years I would decide to go there again.
I have chills.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, okay, let me just walk in here. So I go in there, I'm doing my thing. I buy, and it's funny because I always buy a coffee first because I don't want attention on me that I'm just sitting there using I don't want people to think that I'm like using the Wi-Fi. I can't afford like internet. I don't know why it's like a thing. So I was like, let me buy my stuff and sit down, and I'm working. And I saw these two Black guys walk in, and I paid attention because I was right. There was only like 2 or 3 of us brown people in the entire Starbucks that day. But I was like, whatever, I'm already here. I'm going to stay. I saw these two Black men walk in. And one of the reasons I was watching them was because, again, now there were 4 of us instead of just 2 Black people. And honestly, I thought the one was really, really, really cute. He was the one with like the green jacket and like the beard. I thought he was so adorable. So I was just like, peeping these guys out. And I watched them walk up to the barista, and they asked if they could use the bathroom. And she said, no, it's for paying customers only. And that was it. They said, okay. And they sat down. And as she walked away, like down the Starbucks counter, I saw her like mouthing something to herself. And initially, I felt she just said something racist. I don't know why I felt that, but when you have those moments, it's important to check yourself and wonder where those thoughts are coming from. And so I was like, Michelle, you have no idea what she just said. Maybe she forgot some simple syrup in the back. You don't know. Like now you are being prejudiced against someone for no reason. So I put my head back down and I'm like, Michelle, mind your business. Just keep working, right? At that point, I've been there for about 45 minutes. And within maybe 5 minutes or so, 2 cops walk in, which I thought was really weird because I'd been there for almost an hour and nothing had happened. And I remember wondering if, I don't know, maybe they were responding to an earlier call from earlier in the day, like or maybe even the day
Or are they getting
before.
coffee for themselves?
Correct.
You know.
I don't know, but I was close enough to the counter that I could overhear them, and I heard them. They were chit-chatting, and for some weird reason, I looked over at the 2 Black men that had walked in. I don't know why. And I looked at them and they were looking, we like made eye contact really quickly. And then they were looking at the cops because, when there's cop presence around, we just get a little bit tense. Well, then I heard the barista, I heard her lie. I heard her say, those 2 guys in the corner are refusing to leave. And I was like, oh my God, maybe she did say something racist. Maybe I was onto something. Maybe my gut feeling, maybe, I mean, I can't believe what I'm hearing. What was even more terrifying was that they didn't ask any follow-up questions. There was no investigation. These 2 cops immediately beelined for Dante and Rashawn. So I'm watching them walk over there, and I'm like, oh my God, what? And I look at them, and now they're looking at these cops walking towards them, and I'm like, Lord, I cannot see an act of police violence. I don't know if I would be able to emotionally handle that happening in front of me. So, yeah. So if you've ever like had like a panic attack, you feel like you're about to do something, but you feel like you don't know what it is. And I had that feeling. I was like, okay, I'm going to do something and I don't know what I'm going to do, but being still, it was not an option for me, especially because there was a white guy next to me for 45 minutes the entire time I was there. He didn't have a coffee. I saw a white woman come in mid-jog, use the bathroom, and leave. And I remember thinking to myself, excuse me, I wonder if she works here part-time, that maybe they let her use the bathroom without buying something. Or maybe she's here so often that, they know her, so they allow her to use the bathroom, because it didn't make sense to me. And so, first it was 2 cops, then it was 4, then it was 6. Now there's 8 police officers to arrest 2 men who hadn't bought a coffee. That's essentially what it was. Didn't buy coffee.
Oh, that's exactly what it was, next to a white guy who hasn't had a coffee for an hour.
I actually
And
saw,
I'm just like, I just want to like also process more deeply. It's just the sadness of you having the thought, checking yourself, but being totally fucking correct.
right.
Like even that moment of self-doubt, how we've been taught and how particularly Black and brown people and Black women have been taught the most proportionate to the fucking population, whatever, taught to gaslight yourselves, taught to gaslight ourselves.
Yes.
Oh, I just have to like take a second on that because it's like just I just want to remember that, you know, and you knew, and you looked to them and you knew, and they knew, and it's a fucking nightmare becoming real before your eyes. The step over. Eight cops for 2 guys who didn't use the bathroom and what didn't buy a coffee. Like it's okay. I just had to take another second on that, and I appreciate it.
No, I mean it's a good listen that we need to believe ourselves. Like if when you feel it like here, it's there's something correct going on there. This was, I felt it in my body.
So it goes from 2 to 8
2 to 8.
And what's happening at that time? Barista, you, Melissa,
so
white guy with no coffee.
A white guy came in, the one that they were there to meet. He was also Jewish, and so for him it was obvious. He was like, how is this not an act of racial discrimination? Like, is this not obvious? Like, what is going on? So, you know, I'm yelling, and I was the first one to get, I got as close as I could to them without the cops, without the violence turning towards me or the too much attention. So I walked up to the cop though, regardless. I'm like, you know what? They're putting Black people in handcuffs for not buying a coffee, Michelle. Are you really going to go up and talk to the police? But I couldn't not. So I walked right up to one of the cops and I said, why are you doing this? So at this point I had stopped recording. I don't know if anyone got this, but in the moment you're not thinking like I'm going to put this online. Actually, at the time I didn't have a Facebook or Twitter, and I was barely on Instagram. So I didn't even know what viral for days because I wasn't like big on social media.
And may I just take another second to process that step up, your step up to the cops. What's weird is that it's like, well, it's just for the lack of the offense of not buying a coffee. But then that's actually inverted. The stakes are inverted because it's that irrational. So it's that risky for you. It's not like, oh, it's small. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to point that out. I'm losing my mind. Okay. So you're like, why? Why are you arresting these guys?
Why? And he says to me, go ask the barista. He tells me to go ask the barista, which I thought was really interesting. I was like, oh, okay.
Interesting. You take orders from, you're a barista police force?
Right. I'm thinking, oh, so can I call you anytime I don't want someone in my space?
Right.
That's how this works. You don't have to tell me why you're arresting these 2 dudes. Okay. That was interesting. And I was angry. So, you know, for him to tell me to go approach this barista as I'm very angry and loud, it was interesting that he allowed me to do that or told me to do that. So I did. So at this point I put my phone down and I walked right up to the barista and I said, why'd you call the cops? Ilana, her face and her chest got like just flushed red. Like I've never seen a white person turn that red that quickly before in my entire life. She starts like stuttering, and she was like, I can't say. So I said, oh, I can say. I said, I watched the entire thing happen from the very beginning. And I said, did you feel like your life was in danger? And she ignored me, and she like walked down the aisle. And I was like, bitch, are you really going to like literally run away from me right now? So I followed her down the aisle and I asked her again, I said, did you feel like you were in any danger or like these men were a threat to you? And she continued to ignore me. At that point, I didn't know what to do. I mean, I was helpless at that point. So I remember I just took a step back and I screamed at her, like literally yelled, I go, you're a fucking coward. And I walk back to my table and I'm grabbing up my stuff and I look up and all these people, it's just, now it's silent. Like everyone is just staring at me. And this one woman, I see her lip is like quivering, and I'm like, oh my God, please don't cry, because if you cry, you start crying, I'm gonna start crying. A white girl next to me looks at me, she was like, I'm leaving, and like basically like, let's go. So I look over and I see Melissa, and she stands up.
To
Now,
you, she's kind of saying, let's go?
yeah, this random woman, she was like, I like I have to leave. I can't be here anymore. And I look over and I see Melissa, who I did not know. She was a complete stranger to me. Never seen Melissa before in my entire life. And she was the only other person to actually like speak up loudly that day. And she was like, I was just here in the Starbucks. I come here. I sit here for hours. Don't buy anything. No one asked me to leave, and you know why. So we basically just walk out. We all walk out together, like almost half the Starbucks. We walk out together. I'm watching the guys in handcuffs, put in a cop car. I'm feeling incredibly helpless. I look at them and I like do one of these, and they like did a head nod to me, because I'm like, I can't get you out, but I see you and I'm fighting for you, and I don't know how to get you out of this. I asked the cops again, like, this is just insane. Why are you doing this? And two of the cops were like, well, we weren't disrespectful, were we? I looked at them and I go, you arrested 2 men for not buying a coffee. Do you understand that? And they turned their backs to me. I was like, all right, cool. So everyone's just going to just let this all happen for now. Got it. That's when Melissa walks up to me and she was like, I need to put this on Twitter. And I was like, okay. And she like showed me a caption, and I said, yeah, whatever, fine, put it up. To be honest, I didn't even read the caption.
And I understand now, you know, in retrospect of having spoken to you about this story, she was like asking your consent. She didn't want to publish it without, yeah. Because also, what risk might that bring to you that she's eschewing, but might, you know, be on you? I see.
Right. I didn't get that either, because I was physically shaking, like my armpits were sweating. I was just like full adrenaline. I had meetings that evening. I like canceled meetings. I was like, I cannot believe like what I just saw. I called all my friends. I'm like, you would not believe what just happened. And then like a couple days later, I'm having people text me and call me and be like, Michelle, were you in the Starbucks? I can hear your voice in this video. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh my God, it went viral. I had no clue. And then I get a text from another random person saying, hey, Melissa DePino is trying to get in touch with you. Like she wants to get together. So the following Monday, her and I meet up in a restaurant. And the first thing she says to me is, I feel like we're like long lost best friends. And we're like, okay, now that the world, literally the entire world is paying attention to what racism actually can look like today, we need to do something. We need to raise awareness, because we recognize that it went viral to the extent that it did because a white woman posted it. People in Australia were hitting us up being like, I can't believe this. Australia,
they're not, you know, I mean, there's diversity there, but like also it's fucking Australia. Yeah.
Right. They got a lot of racism themselves over there. And I didn't even realize that Starbucks was like, I don't know, it was that global. But we just realized.
And didn't Starbucks, I mean, it's like kind of like a fucking, I mean, it's changed for them. Didn't they shut down for like a week or something?
They shut down 8,000 stores the one afternoon to do unconscious bias training, which is I mean, it's a start. It's a start, right? Like it's great. It's a start. I wish that more companies would have followed suit after that, but you know, unfortunately, it takes bad publicity for companies to, unfortunately, to actually step up. We just realized that I thought I had a responsibility to continue speaking, because I'm African American, so I'm first generation Ghanaian. So my Black experience, I believe, has been very different than even like the Black American experience. I grew up in a white town. I did experience a lot of racism, but I didn't see the reality of what was going on in the Black community, and it didn't start to really. I had to go out of my way to research those. I went to white school. They're not going to talk about slavery. They're not going to talk about systemic oppression in my history class. Why would they do that? I went to school near Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Was it Philly that brought this consciousness to you, like living in Philly? Did you grow up in a suburb and then moved to Philly?
I grew up in like a super white. We were the only. So I grew up near Hershey, Pennsylvania. Chocolate town.
My husband's from around there. Yeah.
But we were like the only chocolate besides the candy.
Hershey, right.
Like, there was no.
Understood.
Yeah, there was no. So moving to Philly, I mean, I knew there was something going on, but to be honest, it was too painful for me to look deep
For
into
sure.
it. Like little 18-year-old
I
me,
feel
I did
that.
my senior project in the Holocaust. Why wouldn't I have done it on my own people's suffering? It was easier for me to look at other suffering.
Yeah. And also like I think so much about like African American, the slavery experience and the Holocaust because they're always so compared. But the Holocaust, yes, there's total anti-Semitism forever,
Right.
yes. But it's a 4-year period versus a 400-year period. So there's this neatness to studying the Holocaust and it
Right.
correlates. But the correlation, when you bring it to the African American experience, it's so overwhelming. And I'm thinking of estuaries, like in a river. It's so many different branches, so many. It's overwhelming.
And that's what it was. It was overwhelming to me to really dig deep because I knew once I started that journey, everything in my life was going to change. I lost friendships.
Oh my God.
After I became an activist, I lost friendships. Certain white friends of mine just retreated. My best friend of 26 years no longer talks to me. I didn't do anything to you. I'm just being now fully myself, my Black self, and it's too much for you to have to listen
Well,
to
for
what
her
impacts my
whiteness
life.
to have to reflect her whiteness, because it's like, in my personal experience, it's like what white people have to do is their side of the deal. It's not them learning your side. I mean, it is, but it's like their side. And
Exactly.
that's so sad about your friend. You told me that in Dallas. I forgot that after you and your dude came to the show, we were partying, and it's
Yeah.
or just chilling, partying, but like talking activism. And it's like, there's
Right.
there's just like, it's either fun for you or not. So I get with your former friend, it's like, that's not fun for her to dig deep. What's fun is
No.
in the realm of denial. And it's sad to lose someone, but also it's like, I don't know, you're in a different, like, it's a different plane, on a different plane,
Exactly.
that you brought yourself to. So,
And I've gained, honestly, I've gained better friendships since
right,
then.
right.
Like
Realer.
now, and the white friends of mine that did stand up. I mean, like, shout out to my, like, one of my best friends, Christina. She went out of her way to text me one day to say, what books can I read to understand racism and whiteness? I mean, just that, like, I don't even know if she understands just how important that was for me. It's like, now when I come to your home in your very nice white suburban neighborhood, I at least feel safe in your home. That you were
It's
taking,
not Get Out.
which, by the way, that movie was like my life. When I watched that movie, I was like,
Oh,
oh my
me
God.
too. Me too. I couldn't, it was like Jordan Peele had like went into the fabric of the universe and pulled out Get Out. J'agree. J'agree. I was like,
I told my siblings, I was like, yes. I said, guys, you all need to watch that movie. Like think about how really nice our white friends' parents were to us growing up. Think about that. Like, extra. And I banked on that. I was like, cool. Like, at least I was like, at least you're not racist. Like, I'll take that.
and nice versus kind is very much in the like white fragility space, nice versus like, but how do you live your beliefs? Yeah.
Exactly.
So back to you and Melissa meeting and being long lost sisters. Did you feel that way? I mean, what it like something going viral, it's like almost like this cosmic, it's like a symbol of a cosmic thing happening, this very like algorithmic expression of like something huge that happened, some huge fucking energy that you guys tapped into. So did you feel that same way when you met her?
Yes, I felt like it had to have been her that day. I had to have been her that I started this with because I can imagine in any other space who would have done that, who would have stood up and addressed whiteness in that moment, because
Right.
nobody else did. Then I found out she had tried to start an anti-racist group back in the 80s, and I'm like, like, you were meant to be there that day as well.
Yep, absolutely.
That's crazy.
So how did it happen? Like, the brainstorm to the actualization of it?
We literally brainstormed every single week. Every single week, I would go over to her house and we would sit for literally hours coming up with names. What are we gonna do? It had so many transformations. First, we thought it was good. We were gonna do more like invite people into our meeting space. We tried that. It did not work. It ended up being very bad because white men came and ruined it all.
Wow.
Like literally, white men came and they were like, no, white men came and they were like, "Do you really think that like America's that racist?" And I'm like, "Why are you here? I don't understand why you came."
Why are you here? Well, I guess we know why they're there, to ask that question and hopefully to take it and do the right thing about it, reflect, but
that did not happen. Yeah, there were so many.
Right, because they would have stayed.
Exactly. Actually, it's funny because even like at the end, the one guy was like, "Well, I assume you won't invite me back," and I'm like, "I didn't invite you in the first place. You actually just like showed up." But thanks.
Well, I assume you won't. What? That's so weird and
it is
socially
weird.
Fucking underdeveloped.
Well, and also because
okay.
you knew, like then it's like, okay, then you know that you're being problematic.
You just came here to tell a Black woman and a white woman what the truth is. Why are you here? But to do that, and just to like, I guess, whatever. It's just ignorance, like binding ignorance around themselves. Kind of like Trump. You know, they like expose themselves in front of. You know what I mean? Like they like show their dumb penises in front of everybody, and it's like, why are you even here?
Yeah. Oh, and I was, and it was interesting. It was like, oh, you really did just expose yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So yeah, it was just so many transformations, and then people kept asking us to speak. We're like, oh, okay, so we can actually go into organizations now and talk to them about not just like diversity and inclusion and like why it matters, but we believe that in order to change this, because it's a system, you have to change the individual first. It has to come from an individual level, from an individual, what's the word I'm looking for? Investment to reflect on how you see the world. Like, how are you treating people? And then your diversity and inclusion efforts will just become so much more organic and natural because the individuals will find it that it has meaning for their life.
So I'm understanding that you were thinking of it as this group exercise thing, which we'll get to in a second. It sounds like Robin DiAngelo, I think, does from White Fragility. It sounds like she goes into workspaces and does this group work, but after you're brainstorming, trying shit, and then editing, and then trying new shit or whatever, it has become a speaker series. You and Melissa in front of, and who's the audience?
Universities, high schools, nonprofits, corporations. I mean, we've been all over the place. Like, we've been on Soledad, Red Table Talk, AM with Joy Reid.
Soledad O'Brien?
Yes.
She's from my town. She graduated from my high school, and I used to serve, like, waitress at this place, serve her parents breakfast and coffee.
Really?
Yeah.
Her parents look cool. Like, she posts pictures of them.
Yeah, they are. I saw her
Cuban
at Yeah, I saw her at a concert, an Anita Baker concert, and I was like,
no way.
Soledad, we are from the same racist town. And we were like, yeah, it's awful. I was stoked. Cool. So you guys do speaker series and then also press together, you and Michelle and Melissa.
Yes, we do press together, and we don't see a lot of people doing this. We don't see multiracial people talking about race. It's either just that you're the white or you're Black. And it's interesting because we love that dynamic because there's not much people can say. You know, you have a white woman and a Black woman up here doing this work together, having these conversations, modeling these conversations. We ask people to educate themselves, to amplify the voice of people of color, desegregate your social medias. Like, you know, liking a post is great and wonderful. We love all of our followers, but if they could just take it a step further and like actually repost so that all your white people it's likely that your social media network is probably very white, they need to be seeing what's going on. We do not have the same reality. We're not seeing the same things. Had we not spoken up in Starbucks that day, people would still assume that they don't ever see racism.
Right.
That were in that Starbucks that day, even though you were seeing it happening right in front of your eyes, but you didn't recognize it.
Right. And they would have been like, weird, this weird moment where the cops came in. And then they wouldn't even say two black guys. You know what I mean? It would just be this weird, like weird, but
It's like,
never like actually locating the feeling because they don't want to tie it to themselves.
exactly.
Um,
It was really frustrating to see no one doing anything.
yeah. Wow. And I just, the barista, what a fucking character in my mind. You're calling me out. It's like, yeah, bitch, like I
She did
see
not
you. You don't want to be
expect that.
seen? Yeah, right, right. And even that little like muttering to herself, what a moment. And like when you're like adrenaline, when you know you're about to do something and your adrenaline is like, you like saw it from so far away. It's like, damn, that is for real. That is some for real shit.
Yes.
Um, just to give people an example of how you are a resource, because I've seen a comment where someone was like, I want to be involved. So my one of my best and oldest friends, Andrea, is a teacher on Long Island, an Italian teacher, and we grew up in a town. And she lives on Long Island, which is like, I mean, the suburbs are famously, do you think, whatever you gotta do. Suburbs are segregated generally, but on Long Island, they're famously the original experiment of segregation and this asshole Robert Moses. It's the execution of his experiment. The whole country's in segregated suburbs. That
Right.
experiment started on Long Island. So Andrea, she worked at a school that was more diverse, and then she worked at a school teaching Italian, and then she worked at a school that was whiter. And the differences in that experience started eating away at her. And she just was starting to think about what is this environment that I'm in? Who am I?
Yeah.
And what can I do? Did you point her to
Yeah.
white fragility? Michelle, did you
I
point her
did.
to it?
Actually, I don't know if she already
I
was
forget
already
what the
reading
order
it.
was there, but I was like, if you're interested in involvement, just because we had spoken, and maybe it was like last summer actually. I met you in June, and Andrea,
Yeah.
I remember this like starting like in July or August, that I was like, I think I have the perfect resource for you. So why don't you just like talk about how you guided.
So,
Hey, Michelle.
I absolutely love her. We just like totally clicked. And she
Yeah, she's
was having
very,
issues
very has
within
a
her
special
school
heart
because,
and mind.
yeah, she's incredible. It was like just use it was eating away at her soul. She, unfortunately found out that a lot of the teachers and people around her actually liked the fact that it was a very white school. And I think that really shocked her because you don't really know how people think until you start asking these questions and bringing up these conversations in race. And you think someone's your friend, and then you find out that they're just like a blatant racist. Um, and she really wanted to bring this to the attention of the administrators and the teachers and be like, what, like, we live in New York, but how is it that our school is mainly white? So it doesn't make any sense. Like, there has to be something there, something structural that makes a school in New York City white. Um, and she had a little bit of anxiety around having these conversations because it can be very scary. You do not know the kind of backlash you're going to get from other people. Um, and so we just were talking constantly, and I was really encouraging her, and I'm like, listen, just the fact that you care about this so much means that your voice is going to carry out so much louder than a person of color that brings us up in the school. Like, this, like, you need to do this. And so she finally did it, and she went to one of a new superintendent, and the superintendent pulls out white fragility from her bag, and they had this moment like, oh my God, we are reading the same book. And now she's like spearheading this what was supposed to happen, but spearheading this conversation about race and showing up in her school. And I'm just blown away by how much she has grown and become Like just going right through the fear and talking about it anyway. She knows it's the right thing to do, and I'm so her. I'm so
Thank you
proud of her.
so much. Me too. She is honestly my first love, Andrea. I saw her in kindergarten, was like, I'm in love.
Oh,
And we were just in this I mean, truly, and she just is such a special spirit. And you know, I didn't know if we like that we were going to be, as I've been more interested in conversations about race, like I didn't know that she was going to be one of like my top people that I talk about it with and I'm learning with. You know, she was like, Ilana, you have to read White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. You have to read White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. You have to read White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. And, you know, also like our town was primarily Italian American. And as a Jew, it's just a different, you know, different perspective. And we did have people of color, but the visibility was, their visibility was like limited systematically. And, so that was the thing, like you were right there for her, right there to have these conversations. And Melissa too, like non-judgmentally and sort of, it feels like with the, what's the word I want to say? Like not with the shame element removed, but decompartmentalized, just taken apart. I don't know what the fucking word is, but like just taken apart where it's like, yes, shame is a component over here. And then there's this component where you want to talk about it, which is a different thing that, you know what I mean? And yeah. So that is awesome as a resource, just to understand what you do and how you are there. And it's really just like DM me, you know, DM us.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you don't have anyone in your life that you can have these conversations with, or if you're nervous, like I talk to people on a daily basis, just talking them through this. Like you can, like, I know it's going to be scary, but they're going to believe you before they believe me.
That's right.
It just is what it is. Like you could, like, I mean, for, you know, here in Pennsylvania,
they're going to actually hear it.
They're going to actually hear it. Which is why I think what Melissa and I do are so important when we're on stage together, because they hear us. They hear us more loud and clear. You know what?
And
how can you deny this? There's a white person up here saying exactly what I'm saying. So you're and if you're going to be in denial of it, then you want to be in denial of it.
Right. And to notice one's own, as like a white person, one's own like implicit bias, and be like, why am I hearing it differently? It's so powerful, and no one's doing it but you guys. It's wild. So bringing it back up, so From Privilege to Progress is fucking amazing. It's so cool to hear the story. It's so humanizing of a systematic, like, holy shit, can I wrap my head around this? White or black, you know, and America is so black and white and black, you know, there's, it's just like, there's so many fucking different angles to come at this from, but this actually confronts the binary that's been placed on us, which is so accessible. So first of all, just congratulations and thank you.
Thanks.
Amazing. You and Melissa are amazing. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we have fun.
Good. It's cool how, just as I get more into this activism and just like the nonprofit space, the structure of how activism moves through the system, it's fucking fun. And
it's fun. And you know, it's interesting because there are days where like I'm so energized, and there are days where I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired. I don't want to do this. I just want to pick up. I just want to move to Africa. I'm done repeating myself over and over and over and over. But I realized that I'm like, you know, and then, you know, my boyfriend or my brother or my dad or my uncle or, you know, the black guy that I see on the street, and say, I need to continue doing this. I cannot stop talking. I come from like a line of activists. My great grandfather was an activist. My grandfather was an activist in Africa, fighting for the same thing, basically for liberation. Like my great grandfather was when liberators of Ghana from Great Britain. It's all, you know, it's wow. So to me, I just feel like it's literally my DNA. So days that I don't want to do this anymore, I'm like, he's watching me. you know, and I have to, you know, take some days off sometimes to re-energize myself because it can be exhausting.
Yeah, I did want to say, Michelle, it's like, you know, it's a little formula of like push, 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 and then reset, push, 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 and then reset. I was actually just talking to my husband about work and how it's like, I mean, it's like the orgasm is always the perfect analogy for me, where you can't just go at it. It needs space to sustain an arc.
Yeah, so it's interesting you
So
say that
you need
because
to like lay off it, because your life, this work will be executed longer and more effectively if you take the time for yourself as a human being. Sorry to interrupt.
yes. No, it's great because and now tell Melissa that. I'm like, you know what, I'm tired. I'm a little tired. So can you just like handle all the posting for the next week? And she does it because she recognizes that it's easier for her to do than it is for me to do.
Yep.
And at a time where when this first started and we were going like hardcore, I actually started feeling like depression setting in. I've never been depressed before, like really mentally, chemically depressed.
Yeah.
I was just taking in too much information about systemic racism in this country that it was causing trauma in my body. So I actually reached out to a Black woman. She's a Black yoga teacher who uses yoga to heal race-based trauma. And she said, Michelle,
so cool.
I know. She goes,
what's her name?
Her name is Dr. Gail Parker. And she just
Cool.
came out
Dr. Gail Parker.
She's absolutely amazing. Melissa and I are in the book. She is so incredible. And she was like, Michelle, you were actually feeling and hearing the depression and like race-based trauma setting in your body. I actually heard like a weird, there was a shift in my body and it dropped. It went like whoosh. And I was like, oh, that felt scary. What the hell was that? I did not like that. She said, if you don't take that rest, you won't be able to do this for very much longer.
And also like the line of activism, your ancestors did the work so that you could take those bits of respite between, you know, and live a longer, healthier life.
Exactly. Right, because this is stressful. I mean, like being an activist is stressful because, you know, you're doing it, you know, for basically for almost no money, you know, unless you do get a speaking engagement. But then you have to imagine the constant stress of people of color dealing with racism on a daily basis. When you experience racism and you can't do anything about it, that stress sits with you for hours, days, weeks, months, years. And we know that stress impacts the body's health.
Right.
We know
it sets into the soil. Yeah. It doesn't just, it lasts and then goes away. It sets into that soil.
Yeah. Everybody knows that stress impacts your health, right? And so, you know, speaking about COVID-19 and impacting the Black community greater, I mean, we have, you know, when there's systemic racism, it doesn't just choose one part of your life.
Right.
It's every single part of it. It's your education, your health, your wealth, where you live. I mean, it impacts every area of your life. And, you know, I don't see enough people talking about why it's impacting the Black and brown community greater. But when you don't talk about the reasons, you just let people think of whatever reasons they want to think of. Oh, why don't just Black and brown people be healthier? Have you been to a Black neighborhood? There's no grocery stores.
Right. Yes. So I wanted to bring this conversation back to today and COVID and how and why and what we're seeing and what can be done. So, you know, a lot of this COVID experience, the crisis has highlighted what the system is, you know. Oh, sorry about this. For a second.
Sorry.
Okay, I think it went away. Yeah, let's talk about it. Why the Black and brown community are being disproportionately hit with sickness, with COVID.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. There's so many reasons. You know, people don't know that environmental racism is a very real thing. There is an area in Louisiana called nicknamed Cancer Alley, where organizations specifically dump their wastes in neighborhoods near Black communities. Their water is more polluted. The soil is more polluted. The air is more polluted. Their cancer rates are skyrocketed compared to the rest of the city. We know that with COVID-19, it's going to impact people who are already more sick, who have immune compromised systems. But when you are already sick, of course, it's going to be easier for you to get more sick.
Right. So when they talk about autoimmunodeficiency, well, if environmental factors are making an entire segregated Black and brown community autoimmunodeficient, then when COVID hits, higher risk, there's a higher risk of that community getting sicker. Exactly.
I mean, it's and again, we talked about stress. The stress of racism will weaken your immune system. When you're specifically pushed into certain neighborhoods, like it's, they don't have access as, they don't have a Whole Foods. They don't have an Acme.
Right. You mentioned the food deserts.
I mean, we know that when you eat better, you are healthier, your immune system is better. You go to some Black neighborhoods, even here in Philly, where there's just corner stores that's just filled with things that shouldn't be going into your body on a regular basis.
That's right.
Because
and also the workers, the healthcare workers.
I mean, when you have bias also in healthcare, people don't understand that how much bias is in healthcare. I don't think people understand that. One of the reasons Black people don't even like to go to the doctor or ER that often is because we don't get the same care. We are underdiagnosed. Our pain isn't taken as seriously. And so for someone to actually end up dying from a disease, they fell through the cracks at many different areas throughout the healthcare continuum. I mean, there was a guy, I saw a story a couple of years ago, 46-year-old Black man who went back to medical school just to address the shortage of Black doctors, because we want to be taken seriously. I mean, from slavery on till, Black people were used for experimentations that people don't even know about. It's a source of anxiety for us to go to the doctor. Just today, my cousin was like, "Is that why I don't like going to the doctor?" And I'm like, "Well, do you feel like they take you seriously when you go in there?" She was like, "Not all the time." I said, "No, it's happened to my sister. My brother once actually pulled out his own IV in a hospital and left because he was ignored for so long."
Also, just to speaking of the experiments, the government has literally, for like the Tuskegee experiment, just as an example, this is one example of when the government has secretly infected the Black and brown communities and told them it was something else and infected them with a disease. And so how could someone trust this? How could a Black or brown person trust this system at large? It's that micro, macro, the specific doctor, but the system, but then the individuals, as you mentioned, are the soldiers of the system. So it's, the individual ignorance that is also, systematically embedded in our society that continues the cycle of abuse and trauma.
And then, we're also a lot of the essential workers, and any delivery care worker, we don't, because there's bias in employment, we don't have as much access to jobs where we have paid sick leave, where we can work from home. You have to go to work. You have to, work for Amazon or Uber Eats or Instacart or whatever these are. That puts us in direct danger, at greater risk directly with this disease. I mean, it's like, when you think about it, you realize like it's really in every factor of your life. I mean,
every expression of the system, it repeats itself proportionally everywhere, which is why COVID is disproportionately affecting Black and brown communities, because they're disproportionately fucked compared to white people by design. Thank you for talking that out with me, those specific examples, because it's different for each of us to talk this out.
Right. And, when I hear people say things like, "Oh, we're all in this together," we're not really all in this.
That's right.
Right. White people can go sit in parks in New York City and cops will kindly hand them masks. And in the same fucking city, there is physical assault happening on Black, even teenagers, for not wearing masks, for doing the exact same thing that an entire park of white people are doing. And then they're put in jail where they can't social distance, where we know that the virus is spreading like wildfire in the jails. It's like, sometimes I wonder, is that conscious? Is it subconscious? But people don't understand. Like, okay, I want everyone watching this right now to go onto Netflix if it's still there and watch Ava DuVernay's 13th and understand the history of policing in this country. The second that the Civil War ended and blacks were freed, white people didn't like that shit. They were like, what? Oh my God, there are a lot of free black people walking around here. So the police were specifically instructed to monitor and control the free black population. That's when the first mass incarceration started. Black people were arrested for minor things like loitering. Well, you won't give them jobs now that they're free. So they literally are trying to figure out what to do, and you arrest them for loitering. That was the first. I mean, it goes that deep. So that wasn't that long ago, right? That is still in the DNA of policing in this country. Protect white people, police and manage and control black people. This documentary blew my world apart. I mean, within the first 10 minutes, I had to pause it. I had to pause it, and I was like, I don't know if I can get through this, because it was so powerful.
Same. It was so well put together, but it hits so hard because it's our 400 years of the same history, the same, you know, there has been change, but it's also been coded differently in the courts, from slavery, like transatlantic slave trade, to what's happening with COVID. It's a continuum. And the 13th plays it out really well. Oh, it's hard.
I see people ask, it's called 13th. Yeah.
The 13th on Netflix. And the other one is White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. The 13th on Netflix.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to talk about this, where I'm losing my mind about New York. You know, it was cool for 6 weeks to say quarantine, and everyone believed in science. Dope. But then the first weekend of 70 degrees hits, and white people are sitting 2 fucking feet apart from each other on the West Side Highway. And the back and forth, the side by side imagery of, and then outside the projects in the Bronx, the cops, I could not believe this one video that I didn't even know it was a human child. I thought it was a doll, the way that this police officer was brutalizing this actual child. And it's horrible. The way that COVID is amplifying the system, it's amplifying police brutality. It's so gross. And, you know, I'm like grossed out by these young white people being like, I just need to get out of my cramped apartment. I'm like, you believed in quarantine when it was cool on Instagram a few weeks ago. And, you know, this concept of spending your privilege, that is a waste. That is like going to Atlantic City and just gambling on science. That's spending your privilege in the wrong way. And it's gross to me. You're getting the city sicker, and you know that you are not going to be policed for it. They're not even being fined. Glennis and I were talking about this before. They're not even being fucking fined. If the fine's $1,000 and there's 600 people in the park, and in the beginning of COVID, everyone's like, well, did you know poor kids, sometimes the only meals that they get are in schools? How are we going to pay for this? By fining the white people in the parks.
Yes.
Besides the fact, and the billionaires are not being taxed in New York. They could pay to equalize the city, at least during COVID. And it's just, it's again, a recoded continuation of the same. It's such a fucking mess. And it's so upsetting. And I just wanted to know, you know, if there's a way that we can distill to my audience during this pandemic. You know, science is real. Quarantining, of course, people have to get out, but shouldn't be gathering in a way that isn't social distancing, especially if they, you know, I just, and in a moment when people, and I'm hoping, you know, white people are really looking at themselves and reflecting in a moment that is particularly reflective, while we can't show up in the ways that we'd ask people to, or white people to before, how can white people show up for Black people in the movement at this time?
So we want them to, you know, you're on Netflix all the time. So again, we want you to watch those documentaries. I also want you to watch Freeway, Crack in the System. That's another huge eye-opening documentary about the war on drugs.
Is that on Netflix?
Yes. Blew my mind. Colin Kaepernick
Freeway.
has
A
Freeway,
crack in
Cracking
the
the
system.
System. Woo, baby. It's again, the way that you treat people for being hooked on drugs, Black people, but the way that you treat white people that are hooked on opioids. It's like just like night and day.
Yep. Got you.
Insane. We have, Colin Kaepernick's Know Your Rights campaign. He has a relief fund there for COVID relief. Color of Change has campaigns. You can donate there. We have our Show Up t-shirts. We also donate to local organizations here in Philadelphia for COVID relief. That is one way that you can do it. We want you even more especially to be amplified to the people of color, coming to our page, resharing our content, talking to your people, educating yourself, because we believe that this is from an individual standpoint. But I believe everyone has an obligation to talk to their network about these things. Just like we saw in Starbucks that day. When you guys speak, your voices are heard. White people in drones are allowed to march up to the Capitals with freaking guns. Okay? And scream in cop space.
Insanity. Actual insanity. A denial of science, as though gravity, if you drop something, it's not going to fall. Insanity. And for these white people who bring guns out, it's true. They're like the laws have been changed for them. That was so scary. I also just want to say, someone commented, please remind people that there are good white doctors and white people saving lives. Totally. Individuals. What we're talking about is systematic racism, and that it takes the individuals speaking up about the system to change it. It's not white people bad, Black people good. It's about, we are stuck in a system. Just wanted to speak to that.
Because when people say
totally, thank you, Sandra.
She
was like, I get it. Okay, great.
Right. Good. Yeah, because we
love it.
we don't want to deter the fact that this is, like you said, it's a system, which means that it'll take the individual. Like, we're fighting an uphill battle, not even a battle. Like we're hanging off the cliff, right? Because the system isn't broken. It was designed to be this way. So it's going to take all of our individual efforts to come together and have these conversations and speak to one another and speak up about injustice and check your friends, check your friends' privilege. Like, if you are in speak out about it, be like, hey guys, have you ever noticed, like, the privilege that we're experiencing right now? Talk to your friends and family about it, because when you say it, it's going to resonate so much louder and farther and stronger than when I say it.
That's right.
Just a fact. It's unfortunate, but
that's right. It's unfortunate, but it's the facts. It's different. It's just heard differently. And and it's so I want to say, you're talking about all these great resources, but from Privilege to Progress at Priv to Prog, you can get all of these resources if you just DM them. I mean, this is the work. This is the resource. Yes. This is the platform. And just another shout out for White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo, and the 13th. Book. And the 13th, just as starters.
Just have more conversations. If you are white, have these conversations with your Black and brown friends. And if you don't want to have these conversations, you should maybe ask yourself, what's happening in here that you don't want to have this conversation, because, that's how we build trust. That's how we build empathy, understanding, love, connection, unity, when we actually start to have these conversations. If you are not with your friends of color, your friendship is not that deep. It's just a fact.
And I just want to add about White Fragility is that it helps, like I was saying about those components, like White Fragility helped me, what's the fucking word? Not decompose, not decompress, but
deconstruct,
like deconstruct the shame from accountability. And I just want to offer that to white people who care to join the conversation. It helps deconstruct the shame, which I have a lot of. Like I was saying, like Long Island is this experimental ground for segregation. Separate the shame from the accountability, which, helps be an individual agent of change.
Exactly, because shame is not, shame just stops you from making any movement. Shame stops you from taking
Right.
any action. And I want white people to understand that this is also not your fault. Like, you also are living in a system that purposely manipulates you to be racially biased. You need to understand that you weren't born this way. Think about it. You have white people in other countries looking at us like, what is wrong with the other white people in America? America is
Right.
a very unique country in that, in order to enslave a people, you have to justify it by villainizing the people in the first place. And that has just
That's right.
continued. That narrative has continued. This country has never formally even apologized for slavery. And anytime that we make movement on our rights, it's because we are demanding they're not
That's
being
right.
given freely. So I don't want white people to feel too shameful about it, because you have been manipulated.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And Eric Holder says that too, about like, we have to demand it. It doesn't just fall into place. It's this big fucking system that was designed and was super blunt 400 years ago and is super nuanced and complicated now, but it's the same fucking system. And there is a margin of error in there in which we can get in and push it forward.
There's one more resource that's blown my mind. It's called Seen on Radio, Seeing White podcast series. It chronicles like literally how race was even created in the world. Like, it literally started from some like Portuguese prince in like some year.
I've heard this. That's right.
It is mind-blowing. Like, they literally were like, because there were slaves. There were white slaves at some point, more than black slaves at some point in the history of humanity. But the narrative changed. You just need to go listen to Seen on Radio, Seeing White. It is mind-blowing. And then it talks about specifically America, how they purposefully separated the races more and more and more to try, like, it's like, oh, if you're like 3/4 or you're 1/8 or this and that, to create divide and to create a greater wealth gap. So it is just, we live in a system, like I said, that is constructed to be this way.
That's right. People are asking, let me just repeat some of the resources. Seen on Radio, Seeing White is the podcast. Yes. Color of Change is a resource. Colin Kaepernick's, what's it called?
Know Your Rights campaign.
Know Your Rights campaign is a resource. We highly recommend the 13th on Netflix. Also, I think the 13th would come first before Freeway, A Crack in the System.
Yeah, I just saw someone said that they actually took it off Netflix, which is so upsetting to me.
Damn. Freeway,
Crack in the System. Basically, it chronicles how the CIA allowed and funneled crack into black neighborhoods through, I think it was Nicaragua. And there's one scene that blows my mind of this white guy in Congress pretty much screaming, saying, we're fighting this war on drugs, but we're allowing drugs in. What is going on? He's like losing his mind.
Wow.
I don't know where you can find it now, but it's a highly, highly, highly enlightening video, if you can find it.
Oh, Freeway is on Amazon Prime Video. Amazing. Thanks, Hannah.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. You know what? We'll also just follow up and post the resources because there's some good ones. You're amazing, Michelle. You're just so smart and lovely. And, even if we weren't talking about progressing the culture, it's just like, it's just you and your spirit on top of your mission that makes it sit so deep and go so far and wide. I just thank you so much for your work. And it's so great to talk to you. Such a pleasure and honor to collaborate in this way.
Can we get together when this is over?
I would love that. I would love to get together. Also, I'd love to come to Philly. New York is so nuts. Yeah. I would love to come see you in Philly. Yeah, truly. But cool, Michelle. Well, I'll talk to you soon and say hi to Melissa. And thank you so much. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Okay, I was just exiting and gonna just repeat some stuff. Oh my God, Michelle is just so, I could talk to her forever and ever. That was the thing. We were like hanging, but like when I met her in Dallas and she and her man came to my show, we're hanging after, but like, it's fun, it's fun to get into it. And it's like, it reminds me of getting into comedy in the first place. early on when it was like, holy shit, this is thrilling and for real, you know? And it's, I've found the same spirit can happen in progressive conversations. So from privilege to progress at Priv to Prague. And just want to repeat the 13th on Netflix, Freeway, A Crack in the System on Amazon Prime Video, White Fragility, I highly recommend. Okay, shout out to the grocery store workers, the healthcare workers, the mail carriers, the people just fucking out there saving our lives, keeping us fed and saving our lives. And to you, I mean, you know, with Generator, we're like hashtags minimal civic engagement. And this is it, you know, raising consciousness is the first thing. Educating yourself is the first thing. Knowledge is freaking power. I freaking love you. I can't get off. No, I will get off. Okay. Love you. Have a good day. Be well. Bye.